Preparing the live stream. Preparing the live stream. Setting up for the meeting.
Recording in progress.
It should say live stream in progress. And we are live. Hey, everybody. You are watching and listening to the We Are Rizin podcast. This is your host, Andrew Benjamin. I'm joined by my co-host, soon to be a Dirty 30, Jay Christian Gary from Focus Fights.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. And I'm also in anticipation of some Astros fever within the next 24 hours to a week. But still, though, what's up, y'all? We also have our favorite Clevelandite and favorite Rising fan from the Midwest, Stoltzy, Michael Soltesz. How about you, sir? How are you?
Good. How about you guys?
We're doing all right, Michael. I would say how about yourself, but I'm pretty sure you're a little bit busy, especially considering the fact that you finally got a mic stand to keep that phone up.
Yeah, for right now, it's a selfie stick. We'll see. It's a little unstable, but let's go with it.
Of course.
You're upgrading already, Mike. Soon you'll be having your own show.
If I only was as good as you guys.
Oh no, you don't. You're gonna make me blush.
Come to think of it, we wouldn't mind having more people involved in the fight media landscape that only cares about, what goes on here instead of those three other letters that everybody seems to have their panties in a knot about.
You mean one?
No, not that.
I meant
one championship. You know
LFA.
Exactly what
I meant LFA.
Not them either. But then again, I'm pretty sure they probably need one because people need to realize who the fuck they are. But still, y'all know what I'm talking about. Anyways, we're here to talk about not just what happened when it came down to, the announcement of the Rizin 40 matchups for the Bellator Rizin side, but we're obviously here to talk about Rizin 39 that just happened in Fukuoka, right?
Yes. Well, I just want to, Mike, we already gave our thoughts at 5 a.m. the other day, watching the show press conference thing live. Just give me your quick thoughts on Rizin 40 so far.
It's looking like on paper, a really awesome card. We discussed this off air, but I do think they have two of the matches mixed up. I do think they should have went with Kim versus Horiguchi for the bantamweight title, and then Archuleta versus Ogi Kubo, but Kleber against my God, I'm blanking, Pitbull, and then Satoshi against AJ McKee. Phenomenal fights. Those are to me, they're pick 'em. And, they're going to be great regardless, and it's a good way to end the year. And I hope that it gets the attention it deserves.
Hopefully so, especially considering the fact of how Josh Thompson was complaining yesterday at this particular time. Oh, we need to do our fucking job and promote the show better.
We talked a little about sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, you go right ahead.
I was just gonna say, no, we talked about that off air. You weren't too familiar with what went on, so you can look it up after, and then you can make your own decision. But yeah, listen, it'll be like this is just a conversation that happens all the time, all that stuff. I don't care about it. I'm done kind of discussing it because it's like yelling at a wall, and it doesn't make any sense anymore. And so I've gotten to the point where if people don't want to.
Andrew, regardless of the fact of who promotes it or not, we're still going to be putting it over, right? Well, because we do have interviews with people set, right?
Interviews. No interviews now. The show was just announced, Chris. So there's nothing.
I know. That means we got to hustle our asses just to get these interviews set.
No. Well, yeah. Listen, if you want to peruse whatever Josh Thompson was saying about the show being covered by people in the MMA media, that's fine. Go ahead. But listen, it's all gonna be the same shit every year, nothing different. And it's one of those things that's like I'm just tired. Because it's a dead conversation because it gets nowhere because nothing will change. Kind of how it is. 86 Boxing is in the chat, says cheers. Boxing Glove, and Anna. Good old Anna. We love you, Anna. Thank you so much for always tuning in, especially because it's like, I think 9 a.m. where you are, maybe, or pretty early, regardless. But better things are to be discussed. Rise of 39, Fukuoka. Mike, did you watch the show live or did you watch it after the fact?
I watched almost all of it live. The only two fights that I kind of power napped through at the intermission were Koji Takeda, Zach Zane, because it went exactly the way you would think it was supposed to, and then Yachi, because at this point I'm just over him.
Yeah.
Even though Yachi won.
Well, Chris, we'll get into it why his win doesn't matter. We'll get into it. I think Mike and I probably seem to have very similar thoughts on it just from the way he responded.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the show overall though? You have any...
I thought it was a really good show, and there were a few guys that really stood out to me. I thought, like, outcome wise, it was pretty good for Rizin. They got a couple new prospects, exposure, and the person who was supposed to become champion became champion.
Mm-hmm.
Marketable than Mushiku, but we'll get into
that. Chris, what do you think of the show overall?
Well, first of all, I had to watch the fight stream. I had to spend my last 15 fight credits as a last resort because of the fact that following it elsewhere just was a pain in the ass for me. But still, though, when it came down to the Rizin 39 fight card, I was just excited from end to end. Even though there were some occurrences where the fight card was a little bit boring and toned down, I enjoyed every single fight that happened, with the exception, unfortunately, of Trent Nino Loco Gurnham losing to Mr. So-called Yabai Daro, aka the dangerous one, Genshu Mano, via technicality. And I'm pretty sure we'll get to that. But all I gotta say is best wishes to Trent Gurnham. Hopefully he gets back in the fight game soon, way sooner rather than later after that injury that he had.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think we could all agree. Yeah, well, actually, what I heard is that he's now walking without crutches. So that's what I've heard.
So basically, what happened was just basically a sprain. Holy shit!
I don't know. I don't know the extent of the injury. If it nothing broke. That's the one thing, is that nothing is broken, and that there was no muscle tear. I thought it was an ace. I thought he blew out his ACL from the way that his knee buckled.
Something like that.
Yeah, but apparently it's not. You know what? It could have just been, whatever. Like, it could have just been something that just like his knee buckled, or just like one of those things, just like a freak trauma injury, but nothing excruciating happens. But I'll try to find out like exactly what the extent of the injury was, or if somebody in the chat knows.
But in all seriousness, though, we wish Trent Gurnham a very, very speedy recovery, and who knows? Maybe we'll get that rematch for him against Umeno under MMA rules so he can kick this dangerous one's ass.
Maybe. But yeah, I guess I think the most memorable thing. Well, should we say the most memorable? Nah, not the most memorable. But probably the thing that we kind of all predicted was going to happen was Kleber beating Ushiku to finally get that title. Almost inevitable at this point. Destino, as one wrestler would say.
But the question is now, and I know that we're gonna talk about this again later. We're gonna bring this up later, but outside of the fact that he's gonna be facing off against Patricio Pitbull on New Year's Eve, even though it was a quick booking, but it gives him 8 weeks to train and prepare. Who's next for Kleber Koike-Herbst? Like, who's next for him to defend that title against?
That's a great question, Michael. Yeah. So. After Patricio, what do? I mean, the other thing is also, if Patricio does beat him, would you then do Patricio versus Kleber? Keep that in mind. So, but I want to hear your thoughts.
I would say that the first person that comes to mind for me is Chihiro Suzuki.
Okay, that's a good choice. Sorry, go ahead.
I would also say when he gets healthy, Vugar Karamov would be another guy.
Most definitely.
Yeah. I like to try to think of 3 challengers. And then the obvious one, whenever he fights again, because he's a draw, Mikuru Asakura. Those would be my three, a rematch. Those would be the top three contenders, I would say, at this point.
What about
yeah, but then again, Mikuru Asakura is probably wherever he goes now, he's gonna feel the stench of Mayweather alongside him.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this: he's not feeling the stench of Mayweather right now. What he's smelling is the amount of money that Breaking Down is bringing in. So,
oh right, and how his free shows on YouTube is pretty much raking in the payola.
So,
but still, though, that's beside the point.
Yeah. What about if Patricio beats Kleber? Would you then kind of do something like that?
Yes, you almost have to.
Because remember they did that with Kai when Kai beat Kyoji the first time. Well, actually, no. Remember Kyoji had to vacate the title, but then Kai and Ogikubo had that the vacant title fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. August of 2020, I think.
Yeah.
Rise 23, I want to say it was.
Yeah, and then well, it happened in Deep, but Nakamura beat Ushiku in a non-title fight, and then got the title fight right after that, and then Ushiku beat him. So I think.
Sorry,
no, go ahead, Mike.
For since we're talking about both of them, for Ushiku, why not do a third fight with Nakamura as a return fight?
Well, Nakamura's already got a fight booked in Deep coming up. I don't know what you would do with Ushiku at this point now. You know, it's just so crazy. Do you think? Here's the question I have: do you think if Ushiku had won, they would have done Ushiku versus Patricio, or do you think they would have just done Kleber anyway?
No, because if they would have done Ushiku versus Patricio Pitbull, we already know the odds would be. We already know the odds would definitely be in Patricio Pitbull's favor, but they would be like minus 10,000 at this point.
But how crazy that like there is some alternate timeline where Ushiku beats Kleber, and then Ushiku is representing Rizin in Rizin versus Bellator, and just like I'm just thinking like, man, that just is like a crazy timeline that a butterfly effect that happened. It could have happened.
Then again, Andrew, we all know what the odds would have been, and they would have been overwhelmingly.
But just it's still one of those compelling fights. It's kind of like it's something interesting.
Dude, compelling my ass. That fight would have been a squash fight.
Oh, it is, but listen, you can't deny, and if you saw from this fight that Ushiku does not give up. Ushiku is always pressing forward. I think he earned a lot of respect for me in this fight. With the way he fought. Just want to quickly say Rizin will die. Best nickname. Says that Vugar and Nakaharu keep the division turning. So
Nakahara. Nakahara.
But he's only had 2 wins so far. So right. I don't. Suzuki's had a lot more though, and he had the notable win over Hagiwara as well, and also Ren as well. So I think those are bigger wins that you can kind of give an excuse for him to get the title next if they decide to go that way.
Right, but Nakahara looked awesome.
No, he definitely looked awesome. Like I did not expect him to look like that fight to go that way. A question for you, Mike. So, I mean, we knew this fight was going to go the way that it was going to go. What did you just think of Ushiku and the way that he approached this fight? Like daring to, at one point he tried to heel hook Kleber, which I thought, man, you got balls doing that. He tried to guillotine even at one time. And he definitely did brush up on his submission defense. He got caught, but he survived 2 rounds of him.
I was going to say, I think he proved he's a world-class fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought his game plan was stupid. He should have stood. He should have boxed and stood with him, but he went right into the lion's den, and it is what it is. But he was very impressive. I didn't expect him to survive that long. Like he really showed a lot of potential to me.
Part 2 of that question is Kleber's boxing, because remember he rocked Ushiku, and that's how he was able to get him down to the ground in the second round and eventually get that reverse triangle. So what about, do you think that even standing and trading with him would have. Do you think that Kleber's striking has improved so much since day one that maybe at this point now that it's not even possible? Or I should say it's not as easy of a plan to win that way against him.
Yes, I think that's accurate. You're going to need one punch power to knock him out. And not that many people, maybe with the exception of Nakahara or Horie, maybe in Rizin, have that. Maybe Suzuki too, but for the most part, no. You have to. Kleber's boxing is good enough to where, or stand up is good enough to where he can impose his will on people. I think at this point, I don't think it's as big a liability as I thought it was.
Chris, yeah, give me your thoughts on this. I mean, it was no surprise to you who won, but anything that you can, any positive that you could say about Ushiku that came out of this fight for you?
Well, I'm not really going to say much about this fight because we all know who the hell won, and we all knew it was destined to happen for Kleber Koike. However, we can't fault the fact that Ushiku came into this fight as the champion, and aside from his bouts with Yutaka Saito, the first champion, those two really represented the rising featherweight division with class and with, I guess, pun intended, pride, so to speak. However, Kleber Koike Herbst is the third champion now. We got to see what the hell's going to happen with him. I just don't know what to do with Ushiku next, except for the fact that you got to have him fight some bounce back fights, maybe against foreign opponents.
That's a good question, actually, that Chris, topic you bring up. So definitely during Rizin's pandemic era, a lot of people, and I'm not saying that Ushiku would not have been given a chance, but he definitely was. I think given who they were going after and the type of fighters that they were trying to book, I don't know if Ushiku would have been high on the list for Rizin. And
of course,
I was going to say he was in a way a beneficiary of the pandemic, like Hagiwara was, because they wouldn't have been booked as quickly as they were otherwise.
So based on that, Mike, do you think that we're going to see a lot of Ushiku, or is kind of like the Ushiku arc? Is it now over? And maybe they'll bring him back. I don't know, sporadically.
No, I think he'll be somewhat of a regular because he's a former featherweight champion. He had a good showing. I think he upped his stock big time here. So I just think you need to find a good opponent that, a bounce back opponent he can beat.
I pose that question to you. Who do you book him next for? Okay. Well, just say the other issue you gotta think of is that he's a deep featherweight champion. Remember, he couldn't defend the championship last year on New Year's Eve because he was booked for deep. I have no idea why Rizin didn't just say, hey, deep, we're bigger than you. Give us him. So that's the other issue as well, is that now he has a deep featherweight championship that he's gotta defend now. That's an issue. So I mean, like, besides that, who would be like, I don't know, Yutaka Saito? Would that be?
Would you book him because he's on a 5-fight win streak just to get someone in here? Koro
Terashima?
Yes.
I think it's bantamweight. Does he also fight at maybe fights also featherweight?
I thought he was featherweight. I thought when he fought Akira Hara, who did he fight on that prospect on the one
that may have been a 145 fight, but he is a bantamweight champion for deep.
Okay, never mind then. I thought he was a featherweight. My bad.
No, so you want to give so that's the issue, is that, I mean, would you give him somebody like a hard?
Depending on what happens, why not give him Dominator?
Satoshi Yamasu?
Yes.
That's interesting. But here's the thing, like, Dominator is already on that streak. He's main eventing the next show. Do you want, I mean, here's the thing, is that can you main event another show with Ushiku, even with that championship status?
No, but you can put him high on the card.
I see.
You know what? I think that if you were to, and you wouldn't have deep in the way, you would have him booked for the first Rizin card of 2023.
Here's the other thing I'll say. So, being that he is a former champion, do you find a way to shoehorn him into the Rizin 40 show?
No,
Whatever fight.
no. Like I said, you're gonna have to book him for Rizin 41, I guess, in this case, which would probably be the first event happening in the spring of 2023, if necessary, because it looks like you're gonna have your Rizin 40 card already planned out and booked within the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Which is gonna give us enough time to get interviews and shit like that. But still though, for Rizin 41 or whatever future cards Rizin have, you're gonna want to book Ushiku or any other former champions to be a part of that card. Right?
The one, yeah, no, you're right. The one fighter I could think of, and to me it makes sense. What about Sora Yamamoto?
If he wins, if he wins in Fighting Nexus whenever he's supposed to fight, then yeah, that would make sense.
Okay, well, I didn't even know he was supposed to be having a fight in Nexus at some point.
I mean, of course you got to get the.
I think it might be next month, actually.
Oh, okay.
I mean, of course, you got to get the son of the UWFI legend on board. I mean, that would be cool. Ushiku versus Sora Yamamoto. That's great. Book it.
So did anybody see the confessions video where Ushiku's father was saying, "Yeah, I think my son's kind of a boring fighter"?
Nah, because wasn't Kenichi Yamamoto a boring fighter?
No, Ushiku. We're talking about Ushiku.
Oh, right. Yeah. I think I've seen that, and I think I remember that. But still, though, when it came down to his fights, especially in Rizin, did y'all think that he was boring?
Sorry,
no, Ushiku.
No, I mean, he beat Saito twice, and they weren't terrible fights. And then this one was exciting. He came to fight, and he did a good job. So, no, I don't think they've been boring.
So here's the thing. Is he the type of fighter that I would pay to see?
No.
The honest answer is probably not. But I can't deny that he did kind of fight. And I have to highly respect the fact that he did wind up not conceding as easily as I thought that would have happened. As I thought it would have happened.
Andrew, he's he'd be like a mid card. He's like a likable mid carder. How about that?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Who's like a he's a likable mid carder. You know what that reminds? You know what, Chris? What do you think? Biggie Langston, or like something like that.
Yeah, but the thing was, Big E was the former WWE champion, and he was in the main event half the time of that reign. So I wouldn't say likable. I would not say likable mid carder. Well,
so was Ushiku.
Down to him.
So was Ushiku. And then remember how quickly Big E lost it. Oh, we're seeing parallels here now. I think we're seeing parallels.
Oh yeah, and Big E had that broken neck. Let's hope that Ushiku doesn't get injured.
Yeah.
But still, though, point of the matter is, I don't see Ushiku as a likable mid carder because, in a way, he's a product of circumstance. He was basically a product of the pandemic. I do see him having a few more fights in that higher upper card before dropping back down to that mid card as soon as he loses that deep title.
Yeah, no, and listen, let's not forget how he got the title, because Saito was like, I don't want to do a non-title fight for my next fight. I want to do it. I want to actually defend it. And think about that. That one little thing that Saito did caused us to go on this whole trajectory for featherweight. So it's just
and that's to Yutaka Saito's credit that he was a fighting champion, however brief it was.
Yeah. But like his request to do it definitely set off a chain of events that
a chain reaction that sort of just paralleled into craziness.
Yeah, and then we also don't forget we had Kleber coming to blows of Sakakibara and management, that whole thing as well. I guess actually speaking of that, so here's my other question as well, Mike. So do we see KSW maybe come in and reform a I guess I'll say a better relationship with Rizin. Would you do something where you, if you're Sakakibara, where like if you bring Kleber over to I guess if I didn't even know he was still the featherweight champion for KSW.
Nah, he's the former featherweight champion for
Why the fuck
KS.
does he have the belt then? Is that like a replica belt thing that they like gave him or
Yeah,
something?
it's
Oh,
a replica belt. But
okay.
still, though, when it comes down to that partnership, I mean, it basically got off on some bad terms because of how Simon Bahor was treated in the promotion. But considering the fact that you got a former KSW champion holding a rising belt, I don't see why not. I mean, it would probably lead to some more KSW guys, some lower tier KSW guys coming over to Rizin with the whole relationship with Bellator now fully intact. They should, try and get that back going. I mean, they are. I mean, the Rizin is a fighting federation after all.
Yeah, Mike, thoughts on that? Would you allow Kleber to fight again in KSW?
Probably not as long as he's champion. I just think it's too risky to have your champion fight in another promotion unless for you.
I get that.
And I don't see the upside having him fighting in KSW at this point.
Mm-hmm. But I guess the bigger question is, how about Wiltore?
Good, good call. And shout out to Daniel Dizubeki for hooking us onto that.
If he can commentate a Kleber fight, why not?
No. I meant if Kleber should fight in Wiltore instead of KSW.
No, I'm saying if Daniel can commentate a Kleber fight, I'm all for it.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, okay,
yes. But of course, though, looking back at the fact that Kleber Koike Earps has not fought in KSW since December of 2018 when he lost to now UFC fighter Matusta Gamer Gamrot. But still, though, if that leads to a one-off for Ernst, I don't see why not.
I do understand your point, Mike. Though, if he's champion, do you risk sending him over? Because listen, every fight there's risk of injury. There's a 145 division's already been all screwed up already, and we don't need it to be screwed up anymore. So I get the Bellator fight, that makes sense, but KSW at this point, maybe not now, but maybe down the line after maybe like one or two title defenses. So at least you could get the title defenses in, and that this belt's not being hot potatoed to like different people and then vacated, all that stuff.
And then match him carefully because you don't want him losing in another promotion.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy though? The last time that he lost was to Gamrot in 2018. Think about that. Just think like that's how good of a fighter Kleber is. I definitely put Kleber like on the echelon of like featherweights. He's definitely top 5, maybe top 3 in the world right now.
He's absolutely a world-class fighter. And I'm happy that him and Sakakibara were able to handle whatever lovers quarrel they had.
Yeah.
Of course.
I'll just say this confidently.
And if you look at the backside of it, dude's now on a 7-fight winning streak. All 7 of those wins by way of choke in the first or second round.
I can say this confidently.
Is that?
Yeah, I can say this confidently. I think he can submit 70% of the UFC division, 145 division.
Agreed.
And especially with how good his boxing is and his stand-up, he's more of a complete fighter like now than he was when he fought Gamrot. I don't know if he defeats Gamrot, 9 out of 10 times instead of 10 out of 10, or I should say, well, no, if he can defeat Gamrot if they were to fight this time, but it could potentially be a more competitive fight.
Andrew, 4 years is a long time.
Yeah. Moe Dick Judge Holden says top 5 in the world. Yeah, because he's champion and he's clearly shown that he is so dangerous with his grappling that I would definitely put him in top 5 in featherweight in the world, not top 5 of all time or whatever. Just to clarify. If you disagree, though, you're more than welcome to say that you disagree. Got no problem with that. Sorry, Mike?
No, I was going to say not pound for pound.
Oh, not pound for pound, like currently. I always say, like, I don't believe in GOAT conversations or any of that shit, but, like, right now.
Pound for pound fighters. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, like, well, listen, here's the thing. If he beats Pitbull, then I think if he finishes, I'll say this, if he finishes Pitbull, there is no denying that he will then be top 3 in the world.
He can very well.
Ooh. Come think of it. If he defeats Patricio Pitbull Fury, will this mean something similar to what Kyoji Horiguchi got with the whole Darian Caldwell thing? Will he potentially go over to Bellator and beat up Patricio Pitbull for the Bellator featherweight title?
That's a good point. We're talking about if Patricio beats him for the Rizin title, should Patricio be the next match? What about the opposite though, Mike?
If Kleber wants to do it, why not? Either of those two can win that upcoming fight on New Year's Eve. It's evenly matched, in my opinion. It's a phenomenal fight.
Rizin Will Die says that Kleber would have a tough time against Topuria or Bryce. I think you mean Ilya Topuria and Bryce Mitchell. I don't know. Bryce Mitchell, I don't know.
Yeah,
Topuria, I could definitely
see. A little unpredictable, rocking camouflage draws.
I think Topuria, I can see that, but I don't see like Bryce Mitchell is not. Is this striking like known? Like I would definitely say that the strike that the grappling advantage goes to Kleber for that fight. I mean, I'll tell you this: the fight that I really want to see, and I don't know what he's doing now besides trying to prove that the Earth flat is Crone versus Kleber. And
is Crone Gracie still on the UFC roster?
I have no idea at this point. Cub Swanson knocked his brain into another dimension, and I have no idea what's going on with Crone at this point. I think is this one of those things where he's still technically signed, but he's no longer fighting?
I guess so, because the UFC are just waiting to cut his ass loose so he can go be a planeteer elsewhere.
I don't know. It's one of those weird things where I think he might still have a contract. You know, it's like that thing where like Nate Marquardt still is contracted by the UFC.
But Nate Marquardt is still fighting. I mean, Nate Marquardt is still old and fighting, you know.
He is? Oh, I didn't know that.
But, yeah. He just fought like about a year ago in Colorado or something, his home state. But still, enough about that shit. Point of the matter is
American Yuki Kondo?
Huh?
Is he basically American Yuki Kondo?
Yeah, I guess so. That. But the point of the matter is that fight between Patricio Pitbull Fury and Kleber Koike Herbst can go either way. But after both of those fighters are done facing each other, you know, the future is looking pretty bright for Kleber.
The other question I have, Chris, is you still call him Kleber Koike Herbst. He doesn't call him by that name anymore. So is he? I don't know why he doesn't call himself, because his name is definitely Herbst, but he doesn't go by the name anymore. I wonder why he doesn't go by that.
Tapology and Sherdog list him as such.
Well,
so I'm gonna call him that.
You know how Tapology is wrong, like especially now. Sherdog is legitimately more accurate than Tapology when it comes to a lot of things, but he doesn't call himself that anymore. You're dead naming him, Chris. How dare you dead name him?
Well, sorry.
I'm kidding. It doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, listen, congratulations to Kleber. We'll see how Rizin 40 goes, and then you know, we'll have to see where he goes from here on Rizin. Next, we're gonna talk about the lone heavyweight match on this show. Tsudoshi Tsudario beating Janos Sukas.
Janos Sukas.
Hold on. So you won't let me call him Jonas, but you'll call him Kleber Koike Herbst. I'm just kidding. I'm fucking with you. But no, yeah. So, Mike. So Tsudario gets another knockout win. And Sukas gets a broken nose. It looked like. What do you think of this fight?
I thought Tsudario looked really good. I thought his boxing was really nice. I thought he controlled it aside from the judo throw.
Oh yeah, that was a nasty. That was like an earthquake. That was legitimately like an earthquake when he hit the ground.
Oh yeah, and I thought it went kind of the way I thought it would, because he was just more athletic, had more dimensions to him, and that's why I think he got caught with a few punches, didn't he, as well?
He definitely did. That first round was very exciting because it looked like Sukas might have was winning.
Yeah, he was. I thought Sudario showed a lot of heart, and I thought he showed a decent chin and some good recuperative powers. This was a fight that he really needed. He had adversity, and he passed that test with flying colors. So I was really impressed, and I think he's ready for another step up in opposition, whether it's a Bellator heavyweight or a better foreigner than Sukas.
So actually, let me ask you about that, Mike. Part 2. Who's the next foreigner that goes on Sudario's hit list?
Well, if he's going to be the 5th guy in Bellator, who was the guy who lost to Fedor in Russia?
Tim Johnson.
Yeah.
Why not book him with Tim Johnson on New Year's Eve? Would that be too big of a step up in opposition, or would that be perfect for where he is now?
I think that's I mean, the trajectory he wants to go on, I think it's perfect for him. I think he would totally accept that fight.
I mean, I don't know if Bellator would have that as if Rizin and Bellator would have that as the 5th fight, but I think if you want to do a heavyweight with Sudario, I think that a fighter like that makes sense.
What do you think about that, Chris? Maybe Sudario versus Tim Johnson?
Nah, because again, when Tim Johnson lost to Fedor, he was the number 2 ranked heavyweight in the Bellator rankings. You don't want to risk your top guy in Bellator getting his ass handed to him every single time there's an occasion fight. And right now, Moby Dick Judge Holden is saying in the comments that Johnson would beat him. I highly doubt that. But still, I think that a fighter that would probably be best at facing Sudario from the Bellator roster is Tyree Fortune. Oh, wait a minute, Tyrell Fortune.
I don't know. I think the Johnson fight is interesting. I don't think. Listen, I don't know if Johnson would steamroll him, but it would be that would be like a great test for Sudario.
Yeah. Enough with the pro wrestlers. He's got to fight a more seasoned, versatile fighter at some point.
I mean, come to think of it, y'all not trying. I mean, I know you're saying no more pro wrestlers, but here's the thing: what about Jake Hager?
No. That experiment's over.
No,
have him fight Manoa Man on New Year's Eve.
Again? No, not again. No.
I mean, besides, Manoa Man's already booked for Rizin Landmark. Ain't no way he's gonna be. I mean, yeah, he's gonna steamroll Kiyoshi Kuwabara, aka Samurai Mark Hunt, as Manoa Man Z. But no more Manoa Man on New Year's Eve. Let's get that over with right then and there. I just think that when it comes down to Tsuyoshi Sudario, and yeah, about this fight, the only thing I was interested in about Yano Sukas is the fact that he came out to a song from the Fight Night Round 2 video game that I was so amped up over because I used to spend the hours with my siblings playing that particular video game. But Yano Sukas just came into this fight. You know, I think I heard in his corner, they were telling him to just have fun. Well, apparently that approach didn't really help because he got his ass handed to him. And I think that he's going to probably need to go back to the drawing board. But as far as Sudario's career trajectory goes, he says he wants to face more foreign talent. You know, why not face somebody like a Tyrell Fortune or, you know, how about Ben Parrish, somebody who we're mutual to, Andrew, even though you're probably not really a fan of his. And I'm not a fan of his views.
I have no idea who Ben Parrish is. Who is that? Is he bare knuckle fighter?
No,
that sounds like a bare knuckle fighter.
Ben Parrish is a guy who is also a friend of the IQ wrestler Jacob Millis. He made his debut in Bellator during the Fight Spear era and got a fantastic knockout win over somebody that led him to stay on the card. I
see. Maybe, I don't know. He does not sound like high level competition. If that's my first guess.
Well, come to think of it, you know, who are the top in the top 10 heavyweight rankings in Bellator? Who are the bottom 5, so to speak?
I think Tyrell Fortune might be there. Oh, what's his name? The Turkish or Iranian guy. Oh, what's his name? He had the fight with oh my god, I'm forgetting his name.
Vitaly Minakov?
Say again.
Vitaly Minakov?
No, not Minik. No, yeah, he was the guy who fought Minikov, and then he beat Minikov because Minikov like broke his hand or broke his
Yeah,
finger.
I know who you're talking. I know who you're talking about. Would Minakov be too big of a step up for Sudaria at this point?
Good question. I don't know. I would say no. I would say anybody who's top 10, top 15 in Bellator is not. Thank you. What Rise will die. Gokhan Sakarian. That's who it was. No, sorry. No, Saeed Sawama. Saeed Sawama. That's who
Yeah,
it was.
that's right.
Just gonna go back in the chat. Moby Dick Judge Holden says that Johnson got robbed against Volkov. Was that in was that in Bellator? Or was that
Yes,
in,
it was.
I don't remember that fight. Rise will die says give him Sedelnikov or Domingo Barros. I have no thoughts on that. Chris, you have any thoughts on either Sedelnikov or Barros being potential opponents?
I think Baby Fedor Kirill Sedelnikov would probably be a better fight for Sudario rather than Domingo Barros.
How about for shits and giggles, just have him fight Valentin Moldavsky? You really want to test him? Put him up against Moldavsky.
Yeah, test if he falls asleep.
Oh, but so actually, I want to ask you this, Mike. Moby Dick says that it was in UFC. I was like, yeah, because I know that Johnson was in UFC for a bit, for a good amount of time. I was like, but I know that Volkov was also in Bellator, so I was trying to figure out if their paths.
Right?
Sorry,
Former heavyweight champion, right?
yes. Bellator, yeah. Of Bellator, yeah. So yeah, Mike, what do you think of Sukis? Is he rising worthy? Do you bring him back again, or is this kind of like, go back to England to Britain top team?
If you want to have him back and feed him to another heavyweight, if you can find one, sure. But if not, I don't really see a reason to bring him back.
So when it comes to feeding to heavyweights, so I mean, here Rizin's division is very, man. I mean, you got Shrek, you got Taka Kenshin, Dario's brother,
the Juggernaut,
yes, Kalyu Gibran,
Shomas Shibasai.
Yep.
That's
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I see Sukis's future being in Rizin, a very strong in Rizin, really.
No, probably like a KSW type.
Here's the thing. I think he would fit good in Bellator. I really do.
I agree.
Because especially when they bring Bellator over for like the European shows. Listen, he's right there in London training training with under Eddie Wineland, I believe. So yeah, I think he's more of a Bellator fighter. I think
he's not a bad fighter. It's just that I don't see a spot in Rizin for him with the way the roster is now and the lack of heavyweights.
What do you think, Chris? Sukis, is he Rizin worthy?
You can't deny the fact that even still, the dude has a record of 7-1, and all 7 of those fights are via first or second round finish. First or second round knockout, actually. It's just the fact that I don't think that you would possibly see him inside the Rizin ring anytime soon. It's just the fact that when it comes down to him, he's going to need a little more seasoning on his chicken, so to speak, just to get back into the Rizin ring.
Since he's in England, how about a little seasoning on his fish and chips, so to speak?
Yeah, that too.
I don't know what they eat in Romania, though. I don't know what they eat in Romania, so I couldn't make a Romanian.
Yeah, even though he's Hungarian and Romanian.
Borscht or borscht. Is that what they have, or what do you call? That's Russian.
Polish. That's Polish, and I think Russian, dude. But still, though.
Hey, and for what it's worth, part Romanian and Hungarian. So.
But still, though, point of the matter is, Sukis is gonna need to try and pad his resume a bit more before coming back into the Rizin ring, or have him fight on a future Rizin landmark card in the cage.
I guess if it's a very small show, maybe. Here's the thing though, is that I also go by what I hear from people, or like I try to see like what the views are on YouTube for interviews and all that stuff. He wasn't getting that much reception. That's not like a negative on him, but he definitely didn't have it didn't seem that he had a connection with the audience.
Did he basically seem awkward to people?
It was just kind of like he was there. He was just kind of there. I mean, he came out to the Fight Night music though. That's like that's the biggest thing I could say. I could say like, hey, great for coming out to that. So, but yeah, to me, see, like when Rizin would always bring in these heavyweights, a lot of these foreign heavyweights, like it's so funny that like Jair Rosenstruck and Ante Delia, all these people like shit the bed in Rizin, and now that they're flourishing in other promotions, it's just funny how that works. I wonder if that's why I think he'd be better in Bellator. I think he could flourish in a promotion like that. I really do.
More like
Sorry, Mike.
More like the cage as opposed to a ring.
Not even the cage. It's just I think what Rizin I expect from Rizin fighters. I don't think he delivered it. Listen. He did come to fight, but I was just like, he was just kind of a body there. That's how I saw it. It was just
basically forgettable.
Yeah. He didn't do anything that made me like go, yeah, I want to see him back. I want to see him back in the ring. Bring him back for New Year's or whatever, Yep.
You know what? Come to think of it, I'm just looking at the Bellator heavyweight rankings right now and looking at the bottom 5. You got Davion Franklin at 10, Gokhan Sarikam at 9, Marcelo Gome at 8, Tim Johnson 7th, Steve Mowry 6th, and you got Tyrell Fortune at 5, and then it goes on and on. Congo, Fedor, Linton Vassell, Moldavsky, and Bader as the champion.
Okay, if you want to do like anybody from that list, I think Davion Franklin it would be the most fun fight for Sudario.
Are you sure? What about Marcelo Gome?
No. I think Franklin would be able to because Franklin's not really. He's not going to bring it to the ground. He's even when he's a fun fighter to watch. I think he could make that a fun fight, and it would be an interesting. I think that would be an interesting test for Sudario. I don't know if you're familiar with him, Mike. But if you want to, I don't know, any thoughts on those names who you think could be?
I'm not. I'm sure I've seen them before, but kind of forgettable for me. I'm not the biggest Bellator fan.
You're not the only one.
It's just like the promotions. I know this is a whole nother tangent, and I'm sure Jay Wolf would get on me for this, but it's just they're kind of right now.
Nope, you're not wrong about that. You are absolutely not wrong about that. And actually, that's a great transition because if you want to talk about meh, whatever variation, it was this fight, Yusuke Yachi returning to win against Boyd Allen. And man, this fight sucked. This fight was dog shit. I am not gonna like sugarcoat it. This fight was like legitimate. This was almost the male version of Esparza Namajunas for this year.
Or to use a comparison and be like watching Andre the Giant against Big John Studd back in the day.
At least that was probably more entertaining.
I doubt that. Bear hugs, come on.
Bear hugs. Give me a bear hug over whatever this fight was. Awful, terrible fights, embarrassing. I mean, I don't know what else.
But first off, when it comes down to Boyd Allen, the guy who lost the fight, I mean, I interviewed him. He was actually willing to fight more often in Rizin and hopefully bring South African MMA into prominence, South African boxing into prominence. How did y'all feel that he did in this fight?
He was a disappointment. I thought he would win the fight. I thought he would box Yachi's ears off, and he had no takedown defense. like basically Yachi's just laid on him for 15 freaking minutes almost.
I'll say this. He at least tried to attempt to finish his fight a little bit more with his leg lock submissions. I'll give him credit for that. But yeah, listen, Yachi is not a world class fucking wrestler, and I don't know if you watch his fights with his previous two fights of Takeda and Yuki Kawana, I'm gonna guess that probably Boyd Allen did not watch him or his team did not watch him. You would realize that probably he would have fought that way because he's not the same Yachi that he was in 1.0 or whatever. And so,
I mean, he said he studied tape, but I don't think he studied those fights.
well, he studied the wrong ones, unfortunately. So, but yeah, it was a. I'll say that he tried to finish the fight more than Yachi. That's the most I can really honestly give of him. He sounds like a nice guy, but he certainly did not bring any sort of energy or positivity to the Rizin ring, I have to say.
So basically what you're saying is Boyd Allen not Rizin worthy.
Not at this rate, no. And I don't know what South Africa MMA is.
I mean, all South Africa MMA is EFC Worldwide, which Allen was the former featherweight champion of.
Yeah, and also not to mention this guy. I figured that if anything, Yachi would have been the one. I mean, Allen would have been the one to be the one bringing to the ground because he's the one who has 10 submission wins on his record. Yachi is not a grappling wizard, for God's sakes, and I just don't know. I don't know how he. Unless he had some sort of injury, I'm just perplexed that the fight went the way that it did. I mean,
of course,
Mike.
And in a way, Boyd Allen should go back to his next boxing gig, which I'm pretty sure will be for ESPN Africa Fight Night within the next 6 months. But as far as Yachi goes, oh my God!
Yeah, hold on, I want to give Mike. I want to give Mike an opportunity. Hold on, Mike, we've been talking too much, Mike.
Okay,
Mike, tell us. Yeah, whatever.
About Yachi or
Yachi, Boyd Allen, both of them.
Long story short, I think Yachi played it like ridiculously safe. I mean, he won, but I thought he looked like garbage. And I'm not really sure, like aside from his name, like what you can really do with him at this point, because he's clearly not good enough to face the upper echelon in the division, but he's good enough to beat like lower tier fighters. So I think that's what you have to do with him if you're going to keep booking him.
I think here's a great way to put it. I think it says more about the opponent if they get beaten by Yachi than it does by him beating them.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to, I'm trying to think of someone you can put in like maybe domestically that he can beat. I don't know, for the hell of it, why not put him with Daisuke Nakamura?
I think Nakamura submits him.
I know. That's kind of the point. But I have no clue who you book him with because he clearly has a limited level of opposition he can beat.
Anybody who you think that you put Yachi up against? Because we definitely know they'll bring him back because of the name. So, anybody who you think that you would put up against, Chris?
I would have to agree. Put him up against Daisuke Nakamura because at least it would squeeze an interesting fight out of him rather than what the hell just happened here. I mean, either that or, if he's not deemed Rizin worthy, if he is deemed Rizin worthy, and we'll get to talking about this fight in a little bit, how about give him a bounce back fight against Zach Zane?
Well, that's what they should. That's the fight that I think they should have booked anyway. That's why we're talking. If you want to give, I think Yachi could have easily dominated Zach Zane. I really do, and the fight may have gone actually a little bit differently. I think, but.
Are you saying that Yachi would have dominated Zach Zane quicker than Koichi Takeda did with an armbar?
No, not quicker, but I think it was more highly likely. I didn't think the fight was going to go this way, and I'm not going to call this domination because just Yachi lay in side control for about 3 rounds. That doesn't tell me you dominated the fight. So
yeah. If anything, that fight, Allen versus Allen versus Allen versus Yachi was dominating, all right, dominating people to force themselves to go to sleep.
this it was only 15 minutes, but this fight felt like it was 45 minutes somehow. I mean, yeah, listen, we know they're going to bring back Yachi. He's Rizin worthy by default because of his name. I don't know who you put up against. Sure, Nakamura, maybe. I don't know.
But would you have him face off against Koji Takeda, or is Koji Takeda above that now?
I think if Koji Takeda might be the next one who gets the title shot against Satoshi after McKee, maybe, who knows? But now that I think about it, if they want to shoehorn Takeda into the show, into Rizin 40, I wouldn't be surprised if they did him versus Yachi 2 again. I really now I'm thinking about that.
Maybe
that would be incredible.
That would make sense for New Year's Eve.
I would hope that Takeda would win that. I hope he wouldn't go, or maybe it's one of those weird things. How like Uriah Faber could beat everybody, but he could never beat Mike Brown.
Right. There's always a person sometimes, like Shane Mosley against Vernon Forrest.
Yeah, there's always like that one fighter who like a top level fighter just cannot beat for whatever reason, and maybe that's what Takeda is to Yachi. Maybe. I mean that now I think about that. That's a fight that I think I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
Yachi fight Takasuke Kume.
See, here's the thing though, is that I kind of don't want to see Yachi fight anymore. I was just so disgusted by this thing. I was like, I don't want to even. I think the Yachi experiment is all over. I really do. I think whatever value he has a name is certainly not the same that it was pre-pandemic, even during pandemic. The Kid Yamamoto heir apparent, the Golden Boy Crazy Bee, this is long gone. I'm not even sure why he still wants to fight anymore. He's got a rich wife, rich fiance, whatever it is at this point. He could certainly make a lot of money in his YouTube channel. I mean, is he that? I wonder if, I guess Rizin does see value in him. And yeah, but this is, you know what? No, that wouldn't make any sense. But yeah, I guess Kume, I have no idea what he's doing now. Oh wait, he's still in Pancras right now. You know what? Fuck it. You know what? Call Grant Bogdanov and have him fight Yachi, and then
yes.
Call Grant. Yeah, I know that Grant doesn't. He says he hates having to cut the 155. He did it once. And he said he hated it. But listen,
how the fight take place at 165? Andrew, your mic is muted. Your mic is muted.
Yep.
Your mic.
Yep. Give Grant that fight. Grant will finish him easily. I have no doubt about that. And then Grant's stock goes up. Whatever. You know what? Yachi is at this point now. To me, he's jobber to the stars. That's what he is now. That's really what he is.
What, you basically calling him Scotty Too Hottie now?
That's what he is at this point. Like this is, yeah. If this is how he's gonna fight in the future, then yeah, that's what it. That's what he's gonna be. I think we all agree though that like Boyd Allen. Okay. Is the one concession, and we'll talk about the Takeda Zane fight just in a few seconds. Do you do him versus do you want to do him versus Zach Zane since they both lost, or no interest at all? Mike?
No.
Okay, Chris?
No. Boyd Allen's gonna go back to boxing.
Okay.
Zach Zane, well, he signed a Rizin contract. Let's just hope this isn't a one-fight deal. Because speaking of that, he did manage to win over the tryouts in Hawaii. So who knows? Maybe we'll see more of Zach Zane more than we'll see more of Boyd Allen.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll talk about that right now. We're already on it. Koji Takeda dominated. Zach Zane, armbar. By the way, the one thing I have to say is, did you see him pick him up by his wrist? That's insane. That was insane. I could not believe that. I actually marked out for that when he did that. Michael, your thoughts?
Koji Takeda whipped his ass.
Yes.
Yeah, there's like there's not much more that I can really say. The fight went as expected. As you said, they should have booked him against Boyd Allen. Would have been the same result, but Takeda looked good. Did what he had to do. He looked good. That's really all I can say.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, it was domination by.
Sorry, go ahead. For Takeda, this was his fourth. Oh, go ahead, Salty. Continue.
It was essentially.
Sorry,
repeat that again, Salty.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
It was a tune-up. That's all it was.
Yeah. Do you actually question? Do you think he could have finished Boyd Allen as quickly?
Yes. It looked like Allen had no ground game at all.
Yeah, no, I couldn't believe that.
He's a boxer. Of course, he doesn't have a ground game,
Chris, but he has 10 submission wins to his name.
I would have thought he would have been more versed on the ground than he ended up being.
Yeah, and yeah, you don't just get 10 submission wins. Yeah. So I mean, depending on what happens with AJ McKee and Satoshi, is Takeda next in line?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, I have a question, though. Takeda seemingly likes to just fight because this is what happened. He took the Yachi fight despite being on that on that record, winning streak record. If he insists on fighting somebody, who would you have him face up against next?
Damian Brown.
Okay.
Yes.
Rematch.
Damian Brown's been wanting to fight in the Rizin ring again for the last 3 years. And he needs to put down the damn commentary headphones just to get in there to fight.
Actually, thank you for reminding me. Damian Brown versus Yusuke Yachi. Because then Brown could get a win.
No.
I think
not Brown versus Yachi. Brown versus Takeda too.
Yeah. And then if for Yachi, why not Johnny Case?
I guess so, yeah. But here's the thing with Brown, though. So here's the thing. Brown's already defeated Takeda. You do risk ruining Takeda's momentum. I think it's still, there's still a high chance that Brown would win in their second match. And if
Takeda can't beat an aging Damian Brown, with all due respect to Damian, he is getting up there. If Koji is at a title level now, championship level, he should be able to beat Brown.
Here's the other fight that I just thought of. And so let's see, since Satoshi will be busy with AJ McKee, what about a number one contenders between Koji Takeda and Luis Gustavo?
That would make sense. That makes sense.
That's what makes sense, especially considering the fact that, I mean, you would have to think those two are the de facto number one and number two contenders for the lightweight title now that, you got you got Alberto Satoshi de Sousa fighting AJ McKee coming up. And, that also plays into factor. What if AJ McKee wins? Will we see him in Rizin more often facing off against Alberto Satoshi de Sousa for the title?
Well, you see, that's the one thing that you kind of risk with this, doing the champion versus champion thing, is that I just do believe if you beat the champion, you should get the belt or at least a title shot. That's just my personal belief. So it kind of does. This is kind of does put a little notch, a little chink in the armor, as they say, with the whole division, and it can potentially screw it up. Listen, if McKee beats him, if Satoshi, he absolutely deserves a title shots. He really does. And being a former champion, he beat Spike Carlisle just recently. It would be, I would see.
Why not do Koji Takeda Spike Carlisle too on New Year's Eve as the fifth fight for Bellator?
Yeah, but then again, Koji Takeda has already faced off against 4 different American opponents. 4 different American opponents and 5 different foreign opponents. You wouldn't want them exclusively facing foreign talent on New Year's Eve or any other.
Our revenge would be a really good storyline, though.
It would.
Obviously, it would play the same for
But
Oki Kubo versus Horiguchi, why not?
here's
But I'm
the
just
issue,
saying,
though.
though,
Sorry,
have
Chris.
them face off against different opponents.
The issue,
Like,
though.
don't have them face people from the same country all the damn time.
But that's not the issue. That's not really the issue. Is that so Takeda's already is regaining his momentum after this win, and Takeda has lost against people like Damian Brown, as we mentioned before. He did lose against Yachi, and he did lose against Spike Carlisle. You do if you pull up against, and that's why I'm the Damian Brown and Spike Carlisle. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of doing that because he's already been beaten by those two. And he would probably say yes to them. But if I'm looking for the next title contender and Satoshi beats AJ, it comes down to probably Takeda or Gustavo. And then you have those two fight. Takeda loses, that puts him at the back of the line. I know that Rizin doesn't do rankings, but there does have to be a semblance of type of how they do it. I much trust rather their booking than whatever the UFC top 15 rankings are, because Connor's still in those rankings for some reason. I have no idea why, but that's what I'm just saying is that there has to be a semblance of meritocracy in Rizin since they don't have official rankings. I don't know if anybody agrees with that. I don't know, Mike. You have any thoughts on that?
I agree with you. It's just I'm just trying to throw out ideas for New Year's Eve.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, for New Year's Eve, we get to see whatever prelims that happen. Anyway, that's a different story, though. But I guess
of course it is.
The other
but
question,
I gotta agree with you as well, because when it comes down to that, you get the top two fighters in the division basically fighting each other to see who's going to be the contender in waiting.
Yeah, and I think also with Rizin, you have to judge by how they fight. It's not just the win. Listen, Gustavo has gone through Yachi and he's gone through O'Hara. Takeda gone through Zach Zane and he went through Bay Noah earlier this year. Yes, he lost to Spike Carlisle, but Spike lost to AJ. But Spike obviously had. Takeda had the win. He got the win back. So I think you can at least have it's not just by the win, but how they win. Yeah. And that's but here's a bigger question though. Okay, so Zach Zane, let's assume that he has a UFC like contract where he has 3 fights. So this is 1 fight over with. Who would you have him fight next? If the contract's like that, I think we would all agree though.
Probably Bay Noah.
Interesting.
Same opinion.
So why Bay Noah, Mike? I'll start with you.
Because he's a prospect. Because Zach Zane is a gatekeeper, and I do think that Bay Noah. I think he's training MMA mostly full time now, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
At this point, I think that would be a good barometer for what he has, since Zane's lost to the best. Anytime he stepped up in opposition recently, he's lost.
What about so Chris? Why Bay Noah for you?
Why Bay Noah for me is because, of course, Bay Noah has limited history in MMA. I mean, he's only been 3 fights, 4 fights.
He's 1 and 2, I think.
Oh yeah, 3.
Well, don't forget. Remember the fight he had with
his MMA career, but
the Dominator fight. He won, but he got the red card. So remember that. So that's an unofficial win for him, but I know I get what you're saying. Sorry.
Yeah, point of the matter is Bay Noah would probably be. Bay Noah would probably need a significant win over somebody. Why not have it, since he's from Torrance, California originally? Why not have it come against the Hawaiian?
Okay, I think you guys convinced me. I was going to say this randomly. He's having a fight in Gratchon, next month. Daryl Okoku is fighting, back to fighting.
Oh, you mean the so-called real Black Panther?
Yeah.
Have him get a win over Zach Zane.
Yeah.
I mean, there's limited possibilities for Zane to job in Rizin, even though you gotta at least remember that there are 9 other fighters from those Hawaiian tryouts that also got Rizin deals from them tryouts in Honolulu. Which of the next Hawaiian tryouts, which of the next Hawaiian tryout winners do you hope will get a Rizin opportunity next?
I don't have the I don't have the list in front of me, so I'll tell you the truth. I was surprised when Zach Sane was like the first one that they called, but like I kind of get it because I think he probably had the most experience out of all of them. From what I remember. I forgot. Dustin Kimura was one of them.
Mhm.
I'm surprised that they didn't go with him because he's a former UFC fighter, I believe, right? He fought in UFC if I remember correctly. Like
He went 0-3 in the octagon.
yeah, that was okay. Well, I think we're gonna see a lot of those fighters on that Hawaii card that they're gonna have next year if it goes down. I think that's the main reason why they signed them because they're looking to put bodies on that Hawaii card. Maybe they'll bring one or two over, but okay. So if they went with Zane, my guess would probably be that they would pick Dustin Kimura next. If they're going by like name notoriety, that's at least my belief. What about Zach Zane versus Jiri Ohara?
No, no, no. That would be an ass whooping and a half. Let's be real.
Andrew, I was going to say for Yachi, my suggestion would be a perfect segue into the next fight.
Show Patrick Usami.
Got it.
Speaking of terrible fights as well, I guess we'll continue on the bad fight streak as well.
Oh, come on. This wasn't terrible. It was age versus youth. Usami KO'd Shinji Sasaki in the third round and may have probably sent Sasaki into retirement for good.
Well,
why is it terrible?
So what happened during the first and second round and most of the third round of this fight? Do any of you remember anything that happened?
Yeah, Sasaki got full mount on Show for what 3 minutes, and Show defended it. In the second round, he adjusted and started boxing, and third round knocked him out.
That's much more than I can remember. I don't remember anything from this fight except for Sasaki getting knocked out. So, Mike, you had some suggestions on possible opponents. Let's hear them. Go ahead.
Yeah, first, I thought Show Patrick Usami, once he got adjusted, did look pretty good. I thought his stand-up looked really good to me, and I thought his submission defense was decent enough to stop Sasaki. I thought it was going to be over just because how Sasaki was in full mount, but to Usami's credit, he defended it well enough and he adjusted, and I think he's going to grow from it. I thought he showed real potential, and I think Yachi would make a lot of sense
against Show Patrick.
Yes.
What about the fact that he did get, I won't say dominated, but I would say he was, if you're judging round by round, I think he lost the first,
absolutely,
maybe second round. What does that say about Show Patrick Usami, who's clearly supposed to be a prospect? He was supposed to be on the UFC, but his weight cut got all fucked up.
Means it means he needs more experience, and it means that he needs more training on the ground and more wrestling. But I think the upside, you can see, in my opinion, you can see the upside, and I think he can be a player with the right camp.
But if it takes that long for him to beat because can we be honest, this was supposed to be a win for Patrick Usami. But the fact that it took so long and the fact that he almost lost, that tells me that like he's still not there, and that he still needs, like, if you put him against Yachi, I don't know. I almost feel like Yachi could have a good chance of winning that as well.
Possibly, but I do think
especially if you got it taken down and mounted. Listen, we saw Yachi was in side control for 3 rounds almost.
Yeah, Sasaki is a much better grappler than Yachi, a much better grappler, even at 42 years old.
Yeah, that's true. Rizin will die in the chat says that this fight told me that he being Usami would have lost to everyone except one guy on the road to UFC. So that's interesting. So I mean,
I think that one guy probably would have been. Nah, it wouldn't have been Top Noi, because isn't Top Noi a bantamweight?
Yeah, he's or is he flyweight? I think he's bantamweight. Yeah, I think he's flyweight. Isn't he flyweight for UFC, for road to UFC?
He might have.
I think so.
Yeah, because didn't he fight Nakamura? Was it or no? I'm trying to remember who it was. Regardless, so yeah, let me ask you this, Chris. Were you at all impressed by Show Patrick Usami? Well, you kind of implied it before, but like, when you saw Patrick Usami get this win over Sasaki, did you think that this guy has potential to be a future player in a promotion like Rizin?
Yeah, he does.
Uh,
However, I do think that the finish could have happened, a little bit earlier than the third round. I mean, it basically had a strong possibility of ending via decision, but still, Usami does have the potential. I mean, if you want to get both Usami brothers, show Patrick Usami and who's the other brother? No say.
I don't even think how does Nosa even have like a valid MMA record at this point. I think Patrick has more of the record, right?
I mean,
Four and
yeah, but
two or
still
whatever,
don't.
4-1. Yeah,
He's 5-1, Patrick.
5-1. Sorry.
But yeah, point of the matter is you got to bring both of those brothers in because I'm pretty sure they're the next to be the stars in the Rise and Fighting Federation. As far as Shinji Sasaki, dude, you're 42. You're married to the legendary Megumi Fuji. Y'all got kids together. Just retire. Save us all some time, dude. Just go ahead on and retire to your legendary wife and their soon to be legendary kids. Please.
Well, Mike, let me ask you: should Sasaki retire? 42
Yes.
and still going at it.
Yeah, I think he should. I mean, what's left to prove? I mean, he was a solid fighter in his prime, but there's not much to say.
Yeah, but the thing is, Sasaki first started fighting when Patrick Sho Usami was only 5 years old.
That's hilarious. I love little shit like that. I really love I love like little shit like that. I like, oh, this person was fighting when this person wasn't even born. I think that was Minuwa Man. I think Sidario wasn't even born when Minuwa Man had his first fight, his first
No,
pro MMA fight. Oh, we got Teep in the junk in the chat. Says big up fellas. Hey Teep. Uh Great. I liked your Bellator breakdown with J Wolf, by the way. I really liked it a lot. And also with our own J Christian Gary as well. Uh right after, because I had no energy. I was dead after we did our live reaction.
Of course you were, dude. You were burnt out.
But I mean, but Mike, so so for Patrick Usami, so him against Yachi next, is that that's what you said before, right?
knowing how they book, yes, but I would move him slower, but that's just me.
So I don't think I'm the lone man that was like, this guy is not Rizin worthy at this point. I think he can be, but I think he's got to get some more fights, some more big wins, some more finishes on like
You're
Pancras.
saying that, Andrew. You're saying that, but going back to our point that we were talking about in the last fight with the Rizin tryouts in Hawaii,
Yeah.
I think the perfect next fight for him, even though of course this would be this guy's professional MMA debut, I think the perfect next fight for Show Patrick Usami would be against Tyson Kuahine.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, he was the 0-0 guy who had to try it as well. I
Yeah,
mean,
he actually fought an amateur fight like around April, beating up Jordan Fernandez.
what do you think about that, Mike? You kind of have 5-1 versus a debuting fighter.
I'm not sure about that, to be honest. I think you can match Patrick a little bit with a more experienced fighter.
But here's the thing: if let's say they did do that, and I apologize. What was his name again, Chris? How you pronounce his last name?
Tyson Kuahine. Kuahine.
Tyson Kuahine. If he beats Usami, then what does that say about Usami? I think that tells us that Usami is not as good as at least as you two are making him out to be. I think he's okay, but just not at the Rizin level.
Well, hey, Andrew, we'll agree to disagree on that. I was impressed, but hey.
But I think we're all in agreement. Shinji Sasaki is retire 20-13 at this point.
Dude should have put the gloves in the middle of the ring last weekend.
So you know what that means, though? That means he's not retiring. He's going right back to Shudo, and he's gonna face somebody again, like in
No,
about a month.
and
You just
hope
know that's gonna happen.
he's gonna pull a Ryuta Sakurai and be fighting even at 50. Watch.
And if you want to talk about 50-year-olds fighting or close to 50-year-olds, I'll tell you. Well, 50 years old is I think how many years went by trying to watch this fight, and Daichi Abe beat Yukinari Tamura, aka Hibiki Tamura. So this fight sucked. I have nothing to say about it. I don't remember anything that happened. This was worse than the Yachi fight. At least I can remember what happened. Mike, say whatever you want about this fight because I have nothing to say.
It laid an egg.
It laid a piece of shit. That's what it did.
I'm trying to see.
Chris,
No, it sucks.
Chris,
Sucks.
your thoughts?
No comment. Other than the fact that Abe won, no comment because it basically gets the Rizin welterweight division or lack thereof nowhere.
I forgot who said it, but this fight alone should just kill the welterweight division. Seal it up. Tell Abe shave his hair to make 155 and whatever. I mean, yeah, it was embarrassing. This fight sucked. What do you do with Abe next? Mike, anything? Or tell him to go back to Pancras.
Well, the name that comes to mind for me is if his contract, whatever the deal with his contract situation, Yamato Nishikawa.
Oh god, that whole thing. Oh shit. That whole thing is all fucked up. I don't even know what I have no idea. I don't even know the whole thing behind that. I have to ask around like what happened with that whole thing. Because usually what happens, so apparently, so supposedly rumors that he was still signed with Shudo, right?
Right.
Okay. So normally what happens with that, I think we explained it I've said this before, like they will have like if in their contract that they're like if they want to fight for UFC or something, they have to UFC has to buy out the contract. I'm surprised that didn't happen for this one. I don't know because UFC has done that before. They did it with Kinoshita, with Pancras. I have no idea what happened with Shudo. I'm surprised that there's even a big stink behind it. That like that's something that like the UFC can like. Oh, okay, you're still signing a contract. We'll just buy you out, and Shudo will accept any offer. It would accept any offer. I'm so there's something more behind it. I have no idea what it is. It's just not a contract thing. I have no idea what it is, but I think it goes beyond contracts. That's my.
They released Nishikawa too.
That's the so. My belief would be that if he didn't tell them, then that would piss them off, because then that makes a potential contract tampering issue. That might be the only reason why he got released, because he didn't tell them that whole thing. Which I really am on the side of UFC for a lot of these times, but I get it from a legal standpoint. Not that like Shuto would sue UFC and like whatever.
Well, here's the thing, Andrew. You live probably near about 5 legal offices in New York City, so I'm pretty sure you know what you're talking about when it comes down to the legal standpoint.
That's my belief, is that maybe he didn't tell UFC that he was still under contract and then or something. But it just that whole situation is just so weird. Because I think at first it was reported that his opponent pulled out. And then it was reported that he pulled out, and then he was like, "Oh no, overseas media is wrong." And then it turns out that it's one of those things.
This is the Yamato Nishikawa situation, correct?
But yeah, so that brings up a good, would love to see Nishikawa in Rizin, but I mean, here's the thing: if he still has a contract issue with Shuto, can Rizin get involved with him while he's trying to figure out those things? I don't know. Maybe once he gets the Shuto thing all figured out, right, maybe he goes right back to UFC. UFC resigns him.
Maybe, but I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe they don't want to deal with him, so I'm thinking maybe Rizin's an option. I mean, we'll see.
Rizin might as well be an option, considering the fact that after this shit bomb of a fight, they're gonna need all the strength that they can muster at 170 in order to make this division a reality.
Well, here's the other person who said that he'd be interested in fighting Abe, Damian Brown. Because
again,
Brown, well, he said I mean, he
Oh,
walks.
right. Because of the fact that Damian Brown says he doesn't want to trim down to 70 kilos or 155 pounds ever again. He wants to fight more at 170.
Yeah. So, and he is get up in there of age, so that weight cut is kind of shitty. So, what do you think about that, Mike?
If Damian Brown's up for it, I say why not? Keep Abe busy, because that's who they're, whether we like it or not, that's who they're trying to build welterweight around. Whatever little division, whatever of a division it is, they're still trying to build it around Abe.
I think that Abe though gets his ass beat by maybe 80% of Bellator's roster if they ever do like a Bellator crossover. I really do believe that. I mean, I'm trying to think like MVP, I think knocks him out easily.
Yeah, no shit.
I think
probably
I'll
be
tell
a
you this.
that would be a shot clock ass whooping.
I
That would
think
be a 24-second beat down.
I think the only person he can maybe actually be at this point that was top level might be Douglas Lima. Maybe because Lima is.
I don't think that he would beat. I don't think that Abe would beat Douglas Lima. Not easily, anyways.
Lima's looked not that good in his last. I think he's lost his last 4 or 5, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to think of like Logan Storley steamrolls right through Abe. Jason Jackson will lay on him for 3 rounds. Yeah.
Benson Henderson would finish him easily.
Oh my God, yeah. Benson Henderson, who's not even a regular welterweight, would go right through him. So yeah. Hideki Tamura, what do you do with him? I don't know. I don't care. Tell him to go back to where the fuck he came from. I don't know. Where was he fighting? Was it Pancras? I don't even remember.
It was Shudo because it was the Pacific Rim champion.
Oh yeah, I forgot it was Shudo. Yes. Oh, you know what? Here's what you do. You have Yamato Nishikawa take on Hideki Tamura in Shuto. And then that's how he rides out his contract for Shuto, and then he goes to UFC or Rizin. How about that? I don't know. I don't know. They both. I don't know what. Yeah, is Tamura Rizin worthy? I think we all agree no.
Pardon my language, but fuck no.
It's okay. We appreciate that, but still, though, we understand Yukinori Hibiki Tamura ain't Rizin worthy. I mean, look at his record. He's 16-14
and 9.
Yeah. Oh God, they did like the 9 draws because he's early Shudo fighter when they would.
Oh yeah, 16, 14, and 9. Gotta forget the near 10 draws, but still though, point of the matter is he's not Rizin worthy. Let's move on to talk.
We have a comment in the chat. Moby Dick Judge Holden says that Lima would like kick him to death, and Abe is talking about, and I would agree with that. Maybe a half decade ago. Lima now is not the same fighter that he was. He's a lot slower. He's definitely not the same fighter that he was. I would absolutely agree with you if this was when he was at top of Bellator's welterweight division, but not now. I think he's totally, his body's just is gone. Listen, remember that Rory fight that he had? He had the fight of Rory, which like I think that fight definitely fucked him up in the long term.
I mean, come to think of it, the same could also be said for Diego Lima, leg kicking Abe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was both. Yeah. Oh, I guess is Diego? He's in UFC, right? No, right?
I think he still is, but then again, he might have already been released. Still, though, point of the matter is, after that stinker of a fight, I mean, you could basically say that both of these welterweights, especially Abe, are beatable.
Yeah. But I think this next fight, we're going to talk about it longer than it actually lasted. And we did talk about it a little bit before, but Genji Umato beat Trent Girdham by an unfortunate knee injury, whatever it was, only 21 seconds in. I think they only kicked each other like maybe 2 or 3 times. I don't even know if they even had any punches that connected with each other. I think
you can say that. It was a quick exchange, but unfortunately it didn't last long. And even worse, Mr. Yabai Daro, the dangerous one, Genji Umato, basically treated it like he went through 3 rounds. Like, no, the fuck you didn't. You basically beat a man via a technicality. How the hell can you say you're dangerous?
I wouldn't say it's a technicality. He did do it with an actual maneuver. Sorry, Mike.
He landed a kick. It looked
Yeah.
like
It's just it was like one of those 1 in a million ways that his leg knee turned, and it just that's just what happened. Um, so I guess I obviously there's not a lot to talk about, but I'll ask this to you, Mike. It looks like Girdham is healing up.
good.
Would you run this fight back again as a
Yes,
kickboxing match?
100%. 100%. Like, how can you tell who's the better fighter when it ended in 21 seconds because of a freak thing? I know
Mhm.
it's kickboxing happens, but there's got to be a rematch. I just don't. I don't think Umeno would say no to it.
Chris, what do you think? A rematch as soon as Girdham is cleared?
You got to run it back in MMA. I know that it's basically
No, Umeno
not.
wouldn't.
Yeah, he wouldn't.
Huh?
No, he's a Muay Thai guy. He's not gonna say. Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean,
still though, point of the matter is, and oh, by the way, Diego Lima is retired. Just want to clarify that. But still, though, point of the matter is, when it comes down to Girdham, he didn't get enough time to basically show off his stuff because he ended up popping back his leg. I just think that, it would be best for Girdham to face off against Umeno in his natural skill set, which is at this point MMA. Even though, of course, Umeno's a Muay Thai guy, but it would just about shut his dumb ass up, saying how dangerous he is.
but the thing is that he's not. Umeno's not an MMA fighter. He has no incentive to say yes to that. And if I was him, I would tell him I would say no either. Your first MMA fight is going to be against a guy who's a professional MMA fighter. I think that's
And a good one at that.
Yeah, I don't think that's quite kosher, so to speak. I mean, Mike, I think Mike and I are in agreement with this. That no, just running it back as a kickboxing match
Whenever that happens, but as far
with
as
elbows as well.
as far as Umeno, I would say you book him on New Year's Eve.
Let me see. I forgot where I saw that about his that he's walking again, but okay, so
Basically, it was a tweet where he was using his crutches like some type of bow and arrow or something.
So he said he dislocated his knee. So that's actually not that a dislocation is not that bad. That's actually probably the best case scenario. When I was watching, I thought his ACL like just blew out. I thought like boom, ACL gone. So that's actually like the best. It's the best case. It's the best case scenario that for this that he just dislocated his knee. I remember that there was other people saying that it looked like his knee like actually like shifted upwards, like it like went up like that. But this is actually good, so he can be back. He probably won't. He doesn't need any PT with that with a dislocation. He could be back not by New Year's. He's definitely not going to be back by New Year's.
What you're saying is he'll be back by April, if not by February.
I would say at least after New Year's. I think it's a good time. Like between January and April is when he could realistically return. If he comes back and he does a show on New Year's Eve, I will be like so surprised, and I would not recommend that. That's just my personal belief.
I mean, it's because of the fact that if you were fighting Andrew, let's just say that, even though you weigh about 30 pounds heavier than these guys, if you were fighting and you suffered a leg injury like that, how quick would you return?
Well, I mean, a dislocation like that, as soon as I got the okay from the doctor, no PT needed, no sort of, what do you call those, the minor fractures or anything in there. What do you that there's nothing in there that could, something, like that. I guess in the meantime, Mike, would you book Genji Umino again?
Yeah.
In the meantime,
New Year's Eve.
Okay. I would ask who, but we're not a kickboxing podcast.
Well, no, but I was going to say, if they're not booked for that, the Rise show on Christmas, why not one of the Kasahara brothers?
Oh, that's interesting. Yuki's the more famous one. I mean, he's fresh off the win at the match.
And he also
So
won shoeboxing.
oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah. So I guess that's entirely possible. Are they the same weight class?
I don't know. That's what I was saying if they are.
Because Kasahara is like, unless my mind is playing tricks on me, I feel like he's a lot taller than Umeno. But if that's possible, yeah.
About
Um,
no wait, yeah, man, it got hurt. Never mind.
yeah, Yaman will be taking a little break for the time. About any of the kickboxers from earlier in the card. I know there's a little bit of you can maybe do like a little catch away with one of them, or is that they're not big enough
Nah, I
names?
think that you would probably not want to have. I mean, it would be cool, and we can talk about these fights real quick. Reito bravely knocked out Koichiro Seiki, and Shogo Kuriaki knocked out Kakaru. First round finish for Bravely, second round finish for Kuriaki. But I think that the more logical fight of those two fighters that fought earlier would probably be Reito Bravely versus Genji Umeno.
We'll talk quickly about those. So yeah, Reito Bravely. I mean, just like 30 seconds is all he needed.
They beat a jobber.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
I
like 15-1 or something. I think Seki was.
I think yeah, something like it was like absurd. It was like an absurdly like bad under 500 record. Yeah, I definitely could see Bravely climb back. Koichiro Seki, not so much. I think we're all in agreement, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But can we agree? But I think we can all agree that like Kakaru, like at least Kakaru like put up a fight. Kakaru was like, okay, I might be the jobber in this fight, but I'm not gonna go down. I'm not gonna go down that easily.
Yeah, but he got finished 1 minute and 42 seconds into the second round.
But in the previous round, you know, he did put he came. He came to play. Mike, any thoughts?
Yeah, I thought Kakeru, even though he lost, did a good job and Kuriaki showed his experience. I mean, there wasn't a high kick that Kakeru tried to block, I don't think. So it's not really surprising he eventually got knocked out with it. He essentially got knocked out with one.
Yeah. I know that.
And our good friend Anna says in the comments that Australian Chad Collins, who also fights in Rise, would smash Umeno. Would y'all be in agreement of that?
Agreed.
Yes, Chad Collins definitely does. I think, are they different weight classes? Because I think Chad, didn't he fight I think he fought Naoki recently. I thought it was 140. I can be like kickboxing weights are really weird. Well,
unless you're in Glory, which you go by MMA rules. So
oh yeah. Unfortunately, we'll have to talk about the next fight, which unfortunately was not a good night for our little boy Hirotaka Nakata.
Oh yeah, of course.
With
I gotta basically be the one to put the damn nail in the coffin. Hirotaka Nakata lost to Takahiro Ashida via unanimous decision in a fight that was pretty much either way at this point, but the judges sided with Ashida. So I just gotta ask, since I'm the one that interviewed him, I mean, since obviously we both, Andrew, interviewed Nakata separately instead of, combined, do you think that Nakata needs a little bit more improvement, like fighting more in Pancrase than fighting in Rizin?
Oh, Mike, after you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought Nakata won the fight, actually.
I thought it was a lot closer. I do think it was a lot closer. When I said unanimous, I was like,
I was surprised by that. I thought Nakata won, but I can understand with the doing the more damage with the knees at the end. But I thought he did the better work for the most part. I didn't think the knees were enough for Ashida to get the decision, but it is what it is. And I hope he gets some more experience because I definitely think he's Rizin worthy.
I think that Ishida is the perfect gatekeeper for 145. Nakata, you bring up an interesting point about Nakata, Chris. So here's how I've noticed that he loses in his fights. He definitely, every fight that he's lost, his face gets fucked up in the end. Have you seen his post-fight photos? his face is destroyed. So maybe it's the fact that he brawls or doesn't mind brawling. And this is funny is that even though it may not be the volume of punches that are listen, Ishida's no fuck is not a world class striker, but it's just the visual image.
Yeah.
Okay, this guy's eye is swollen shut. The other guy must be doing more damage, and we know that Rizin rules specifically state damage is considered one of the top ways that they score. So that was definitely, I think, a factor in why they scored against Nakada.
Flashy knees at the end of the
yes.
of fight.
Yes. I don't, he's now 0-2. This was the perfect fight though, to see where either of these fighters stick in the featherweight division. I do think Nakada should go. So I'll ask you, Mike. Should he go back to Pancreas, get 1 or 2 wins, and come back to Rizin, or do you think?
Absolutely.
Okay, it's too bad. That like if they
said,
were in this, if they're in the same weight class, I would say, and if Nakada won, you should do Nakada and Usami, but they're not in the same weight class. That fuck. I wish they were in the same weight class. I mean, Nakada has fought at 155, but he's not fighting at that weight class anymore. So I mean, okay. So I'm not gonna ask you who to fight in Pancreas because Pancreas is outlaws and it's all over the place. So,
I mean, come to think of it, I know you hate pairing winners and losers, but have him face. I mean, I would say have him face off against Nakahara, but Yoshiki Nakahara, but that would be instant demolition. I would say have Hirotaka Nakata face off against Akira Haraguchi.
Oh, that's interesting. No, that is an interesting. They are both kind of prospects. They're both young, and they both are losing. I mean, yeah. What do you think about that, Mike?
I think that's a perfect fight actually for where they're at, for where both of them are at, and the fact that, to be fair to Haraguchi, he came in on short notice again, so I'm not sure how much time he had to prepare, and if he looked at least 2 weight classes smaller than Nakahara.
Here's the other thing as well. Haraguchi also does train at Brave Gym that Ishida does. So that one thing is that, I don't know, maybe Ishida, you gotta be careful. Sometimes fighters, is Nakada's Achilles heel Brave Gym fighters.
Maybe wrestling.
Well, that's the thing, that Ishida didn't even wrestle that much. I thought he was gonna do that.
No, he didn't. No, but I'm just saying, like wrestlers maybe are his Achilles heel.
Yeah. I mean, here's the other thing. So 145 division. Who else has lost recently? Sora Yamamoto lost. Or do you sorry, go ahead.
Rizin anyway. We'll see if he wins at Fighting Nexus.
What about Hagiwara versus Nakada?
I would protect Hagiwara because of his drawing ability.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Wait a minute. You're talking about Kyohei Hagiwara versus Hirotaka Nakada?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't, because then again, if you pick Kyohei Hagiwara against Hirotaka Nakada, that fight would definitely favor Hagiwara because of the fact that he draws in more of a name now, especially considering his background. Let's be real.
Wait, what do you mean that? Wait, hold on. Hold on. Could you explain that again? So hold on, it favors him. The fight favors him.
Yeah, it would definitely favor Hagiwara.
Okay.
By the way, and obviously we're gonna get back to the conversation in a moment. Anna Nebo is basically saying, sad, the Rich lost the fight. I luckily got to know him through the We Are Rising podcast and Focus Fights, and all I gotta say is, Tomo arigato gozaimashita. Thank you for listening. And as far as Jun K goes, the Japanese commentators were saying that Nakada had a zombie style that won't last long for his career. What do we think?
By the way, Jun K, we love it when you ask questions or tell us, because I remember when you told us all that information on the first Landmark show. I think it was the first Landmark show, way back. So yeah, always love it whenever you are in the chat, Jun K. But yeah, what do you think about that, Mike? That the zombie style is not good. Not good for this.
he does get hit. Nakata does get hit a lot, and the way he fights, he's not going to last long. He's got to fight smarter. That's 100% accurate.
Work smart, not hard.
Exactly.
What do you think about that, Chris? Are you in agreement with Mike?
I gotta agree with you. I mean, and I hope that Nakata can understand us, and hopefully, you Andrew can send this to him. But I'm gonna go ahead and say it here. What you need to do is change your style up. You need to basically improve your skill set more. If you're listening to this, Nakata, you need to basically find better ways to win other than what happened this weekend, because if you keep fighting like that, you will not last long as a mixed martial artist. Believe us when we say this.
Well, I think the thing is that the people he's fought so far, I wonder if it's also, well, so Poirier, I don't know, that's the exception, but like Ishida, and who else has he fought? He's fought Rio Asami and Pancras. He fought Tamara. He's fought guys that are not really known as strikers. So I wonder if he's just tailored his style to be more striking based on the types of opponents that he's fought normally. And so now he has to you kind of have to sorry, Mike, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you're looking for someone like a decent stylistic matchup, because I know he's still fighting, why not put him in with DJ Taiki?
Oh, God, no, not DJ Taiki from Deep. I don't know. Is he
Daiki Hata, the former Dream and Deep competitor?
But Chris, nobody calls him Daiki Hata. Nobody calls him Daiki. We all call him DJ. I have no idea why he goes by. Maybe he's a DJ. I have no idea. But
I mean, because he basically mixes music on the side and fights on the side.
Yeah. But I guess. But here's the. I mean, then you're bringing in a job. So I don't know. Listen, Nagata's gotten 2 high-level opponents to rise so far, Poirier and Ishida. And so it's clear that I think that Rizin has better faith in. Notice how they gave Usami Sasaki. Like I think they were hoping that Nakata would either get for the Poirier fight, not so sure, but the Ishida fight, I think they were hoping for Nakata to get a win, at least, and it didn't pan out. So I think they still would be high on him. He's young. His record's still good. It's not under 500. So, but yeah, it's fine that DJ Taiki would be almost like kind of like an insult. Like that's almost like too much of a gimme. That makes sense. Did anybody agree with that?
I don't agree with you, Andrew.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying that I suggested it. I'm just saying like he's an experienced veteran who's a striker. You could put him in with an experienced guy who we could get a win against in Rise.
Well, like I said, I think the Haraguchi fight makes sense considering that now they're both 0-2 in the promotion. So there you have that incentive right there.
Shoji. Or no, Shoji's a bantamweight. Never mind.
Yeah.
Although he's more a natural feather, though.
Yeah, but also here's the other thing: is that do you want him? Here's the thing: if it's a striker, he's gonna want to strike. We're trying to think of fighters that he won't strike against. We want his brain to be saved. We want his brain to be saved for the next 60 years of his life. That's why I'm thinking Haraguchi, because Haraguchi's not a striker. He's from Brave. He's a grappler. That's what he is. He's a grappler. So I think that fight makes a lot more sense. I said Sora Yamamoto before, but I think that might be a very tough fight for him.
Sora would beat him.
Yeah. So yeah, but okay. So in the case of Ishida, I asked you that, Mike. So ultimate gatekeeper in Rizin for at least featherweight. What's next for him?
I kind of would like to see him against Chihiro Suzuki, actually.
I don't know. I feel like Suzuki's already gone past that level of opponents.
Maybe, but I don't. Suzuki, let's see who he's beaten Rizin. He beat Sora Yamamoto. Yeah. Excellent win. Ren, and then Hagiwara. So he's only fought one really in my opinion, high level opponent. And he lost to Shoji, so I would think that Ishida would be a good test for him.
Okay. You have me more convinced than I was a few seconds ago.
Sora Yamamoto is an excellent win. In order to get a title shot, because I do think we all regard Chihiro Suzuki pretty highly. I mean, it's clear that he has real potential to be a crossover.
Yeah.
If not star, then very much a player.
Yeah.
But I feel he needs another high quality win, and Ishida would be a good litmus test for him, I think.
What do you think, Chris? What's next for Ishida? Or who would you put next?
I mean, for Takahiro Ishida, I mean, I don't know. Because he's not really a top featherweight, but then again, he's not at the bottom either.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have to think that whatever's next for him is whatever Rizin gives him, right?
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, because he's not going to want to go back to deep. He's going to want to face off against more Rizin competitors.
What about the next fight? Okay. I think it's obvious who's going to win the next fight, but Majima's fighting Imanari at Landmark, and I presume that Majima will beat Imanari. If that happens,
so basically, what you're saying is you want to see Kazumasa Majima versus Takahiro Ishida, right?
If he beats Imanari, then I think that fight would probably make a little bit more sense because you have these people who are on a losing streak in Rizin, we're on a losing streak. Now they're back to winning. Let's see who can continue the streak. That's my thoughts. Sounded like you agreed with me, Mike.
No, I was going to say another contender for the featherweight title that we forgot about, Masanori Kanehara.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Kanehara, but like he's had one or two fights at featherweight so far. But how many? So he had the grappling, the tag team match. What I don't count. So he
knocked out Ishida, and then he knocked out Majima.
That's only two though. He hasn't defeated. If you wanted to do him versus Suzuki, maybe
him and Suzuki.
Yeah.
Or come to think of it, considering the fact that we pretty much talked about these fights in a cluster for a hot minute now, how about Ishida versus Nakahara?
I can see that.
Yeah. Okay, that makes it. The other one I was thinking of. So don't forget, there's another Suzuki in featherweight, Hiroaki. What about him?
Well, let's see if he can beat. Oh my God, who is he fighting? I forgot.
Oh yeah, I forgot he's fighting next month. I forgot. Oh, I forgot about that. He's fighting at Landmark.
Who is he fighting? I completely forgot.
Yeah, I forgot myself. Well, actually, we're already on the topic. Anyway, so let's just talk about Nakahara's win over Haraguchi. Probably the fight that none of us expected, but we're happy with how it ended.
Basically, considering the fact that we're in the holiday, we're close to the holiday season. I don't know why they're showing commercials saying it is, but still, it's like the Christmas gift we never wanted, but we're happy we got.
Yeah, Nakahara beat the shit out of him.
Exactly.
I mean, like, I did not expect him to dominate him. He looked at least 2 weight classes bigger. At least. And to be fair to Haraguchi, he took the fight on short notice, but I don't even think a full camp would have made a difference because Nakahara just was able to shrug everything he did off with ease. Like this was an absolute domination.
Of course. But it makes you kind of realize what would have happened if Nakahara would have had that fight against Vugar Karamov as scheduled.
I don't know. That would have been that looks like a much more appealing fight now.
Oh yeah, most certainly.
Like, dare I say he's a better stand-up fighter than Karamov.
I mean, obviously, when you finish your opponent off with beautiful soccer kicks, you definitely are a very violent individual. But still, though, that fight, if not Nakahara versus Ishida, then definitely Nakahara versus Karamov should be made next whenever Karamov is healthy and ready to go.
Well, yes. That's the big issue. That's a hernia injury. It could be minor or at worst major. Listen, we didn't. He wasn't even there for in Mamadov's corner. I thought maybe, he's not gonna fight, but maybe he'll be in Mamadov's corner. He wasn't even there for that, at least as far as I saw. So yeah,
So basically, he's stuck in Baku. That is right.
he might be stuck in a bed in Baku. So if it's that bad. Oh, and Junkei clarifies that it's Hiroaki Suzuki versus Jin Aoi. That'll be there for the landmark. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm definitely interested in seeing Vugar. I think they should I mean, depending on Vugar's recovery, whatever that's will be. If he can't fight within 6 months, I'm sorry, too bad. Vugar has to wait. He's back of the line. Yeah, Nakahara versus Ashita. You want to do even Nakahara versus Poirier? I'm fine with that.
That's a good one.
Wherever Poirier is, I have no idea what he's doing now. He's seemingly falling off the face of the earth. Yeah, I think you could definitely give him a much better fight. I mean, he said he is 2-0 in the promotion, but this win was a great. This is a great win. His first fight.
What's that?
His first fight was dog shit. His first fight was dog shit, though. The match he had with Oka Sasaki.
You mean Seki?
I'm sorry, Tetsuya Seki. Yeah, he was supposed to fight Sasaki. Then Sasaki got COVID,
Right.
and then they got Seki as a replacement. That's what it was. Haraguchi, though, gentlemen, Michael, what do you think about Haraguchi? He takes 2 fights on short notice and he loses both of them.
To be fair, one, I think he should move down to bantamweight because he looked way too small for featherweight, even though he's the Gladiator featherweight champion. I think he deserves an opportunity.
I'm sure. Well, that's a Gladiator. I don't know how the
Right.
talented Gladiator stands up to Rizin.
Right, but I'm saying, like, to be fair, he took this fight on what was it, like a week or 2 notice. So
Yeah,
I definitely think he should have an opportunity with a proper camp.
yeah. Okay.
That's what I say about him. I mean, he's a talented grappler. I thought he beat Seki, but the judges gave it to Seki in Mark 3.
Well, here's the thing. That was a boring fight anyway. I don't remember anything about that fight anyway, so I'll go with what you said. Chris, what do you think about Akira Haraguchi? Is he rising worthy of coming back sometime down the line?
I would hope so. I mean, in a way, yeah, he got his head kicked off and damn near punted into the 3rd row. But yeah, he basically has what it takes to be rising worthy. It's just the fact that I think that the best fight for him will probably be against Hirotaka Nakata.
I think so too. I always admire anybody who takes a fight on short notice. I'm always gonna give them, special consideration because they are basically saying, hey, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I may not have the proper fight camp, but I'm still gonna fight. So props to him for doing that. So yeah. A plus effort from him. I don't know about the next one, though. So hopefully that'll go better. That'll go better. Now this last fight we gotta talk about. This is one of the most hilarious fights. I was dying laughing during Tezuka and Mamadov, and I'm not so I didn't know what to expect from this fight. I think we all kind of agreed we didn't expect this fight to go the way that it did.
I mean, of course we didn't. Montanobu Tezuka defeated Memon Mamedov via referee stoppage at the end, near the end of round 1. 4 minutes, 33 seconds to be exact, when the referee stopped the fight, but Mamedov was willing to keep going.
So this actually brings up a great question about second referees in MMA matches. Well, first of all, it was funny. Mamadov thought his corner threw the baton in or wherever the fuck it was. But then no, it was the referee. Mike, what do you think about a second referee during MMA matches? Is that something that should be done more often?
Yeah, I think so because they can see things that the other referee doesn't.
I think for a ring, though, you have to admit, though, a ring is a lot easier to do it for than a cage.
Absolutely. But it's definitely something worth considering here in the States. I doubt they do it, but it's definitely worth considering because sometimes referees stop fights way too late.
Now, what do you think, Chris?
I mean, obviously, the more serious examples are those of the Art de Mercanti, senior and junior, where people literally died under their watch in boxing.
Yeah, and it goes to the famous quote that Arthur Mercanti had: "Damned if you do, damned if you don't."
Mm-hmm.
But what's all okay, so but these punches and elbows that he was doing to Mamedov, I
Weak.
mean, yeah, weak as fuck. I mean, it was a volume. It was certainly not the power behind them that made them stop. That made this referee stop the fight.
Yeah, it was the. Well,
Go ahead, continue. We're still live.
no, I was going to say, is Andrew off?
Ladies and gentlemen, technical difficulties. Please stand by. But still, though, let's go ahead and continue on.
Right, I was going to say, those punches and elbows were really weak, but I understand why the ref stopped the fight, because Mamedov literally did nothing. I mean, so how many Tezuka landed? I don't know how many, but at some point you got to defend yourself. That's really.
I mean, it's obviously what referees, especially old time boxing referees, used to say: protect yourself at all times.
Yeah, it was bizarre. It was what, like 3 minutes, 2.5, 3 minutes in a triangle, getting hit with that, with all that. They were small, but yeah, like I said, I could definitely see why the ref stopped the fight. Mamedov didn't do a damn thing. What did he expect?
I mean, exactly, especially considering the fact that, yeah, Mamedov came in with a middling of the road record. And, if Vugar Karamov was going to fight on this card, he would have followed directly after him. But still, though, I think that Mamedov needed to better his fight surroundings. He probably needed to, he probably would have needed to be, what the hell am I trying to say? He basically needed to come into the fight with a better game plan other than to be treated like a punching bag for 4.5 minutes and then led out the ring by the referees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he was just expecting the ref to. I think he was expecting to ride out the round, and yeah, I mean, you got to at least do something.
Exactly.
He didn't. So I know I've said it a couple times, but it's just insane to me that a fighter would think that that a referee wouldn't err on the side of caution and stop the fight with what Tezuka was doing. That's just insane.
Of course. And come to think of it now, I guess we can all agree Tezuka's rising worthy just off that finish alone. But what the hell do you do with Mamedov next?
You don't bring him back.
Oh, so he's not rising worthy?
No. Simple as that. 5-6 now, and he looked terrible in that fight. He really did. Where was that Azerbaijani fire that like Vugar and Tofik have? He did not have that.
No, and credit to Tezuka for looking good, but the opposition was not very good. But he did what he had to do.
Mm-hmm. Of course he did. But still, though, we come to the end of the program. 12 fights, 9 of them ended via finish. I mean, all I gotta ask is, which fight did you, Soltesz, thought was the better fight of the 12 or of the 9 finishes that happened?
I thought the 2 best finishes to me were Nakahara finishing Haraguchi. That was brutal, and it was very surprising and impressive. Didn't expect that, as we've said. And then Patrick Usami knocking out Shinji Sasaki and probably sending him into retirement. Like, I was impressed with his hands, and he can punch. So it was those 2.
Okay. And Andrew, even though you're supposed to be hosting this damn thing, what did you think were the better finishes of the evening or the better fight overall of the night?
So right now, I'm just going to quickly say my laptop is like basically burning. I can feel the heat, I'm starting to actually kind of sweat because that's why I had to switch off to my mobile phone. Easy answers for me. Kleber, because his submission game is amazing. I don't care if like he submits some guy who's like 0-10. It's always amazing to see him submit people.
Good talk.
Oh yeah, Valpugar or whatever he says. And then I would say if it came down to I'm gonna have to say, you know what? I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna say Takeda's finish over Zach Zane just because his impressive one arm pickup of Zach Zane, like, and then transitioning to the armbar. Well, initially the Kimura looked like he was gonna go for it, but then transition to the armbar was chef's kiss.
Well, I would be a D-bag and basically say all of the knockouts are my favorite of the night.
Oh, that's not fair.
But then again, I only have to choose two. And I would basically say that the soccer kick KO, Yoshiki Nakahara over Akira Haraguchi, as well as the submission that everybody loves so much, that's probably going to be replayed on Rizin highlight reels from this day forth until the promotion goes under. Hopefully not. Kleber Koike Herbst over Juntaro Ushiku, the fight that got Koike, the fight against Patricio Pitbull. Those are the two finishes that I enjoyed the most of the night. And as far as decisions go, if we were to even care, I would at least give at least a little bit of a, pass on Abe versus Tamur. No, not Abe versus Tamur, but Yachi versus Allen, even though it was a complete stinker.
So I have a question for. So I know we just gave our finishes forms, but did anybody have a fight of the night though? Curious to know, Michael.
I'm gonna go with Kuriaki against Kakeru. I thought that was a really fun fight, and they both brought it.
Interesting. I was actually gonna say the same thing. I think it was a very exciting fight. I really do. I really do honestly believe that.
They were well.
Yeah, and especially when it was supposed to be clearly like a squash match, I think. But yeah, Chris, did you have a fight of the night? Was there anything that like, oh yeah, that was exciting to watch?
You on the program? Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and double down and say Koike versus Ushiku.
Okay, no, that's fair. That's a fair answer, especially because Ushiku definitely did bring it. But yes, that brings us to the end of this because unfortunately my phone is dying right now and my laptop is gonna burst into flames. Michael, I know you don't have social media, but how can people reach you and annoy you?
I'm on the Discord chat at the very original title of Mike S. And then my email address, if anyone wants to troll me, capital msolt7@aol.com.
Chris, you do your thing quickly because my phone's gonna die in like 10 seconds.
Okay, follow Andrew on Twitter at abenja1 and follow him on Instagram as well. You can follow me on Twitter at ChrisGary92 and at ChristianGary1992 on Instagram. And you can follow the show handle on Twitter at We Are Rising Pod, WeAreRizinPod, all in one word. And hopefully, when Rizin Landmark 4 rolls around, hopefully we will do a preview for that. I don't know if I'm going to be watching the show because I'll be too busy celebrating my 30th birthday or, hopefully avoiding getting drunk. But still, though, the point of the matter is we appreciate y'all enjoying this podcast. We appreciate y'all checking us out. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel for We Are Rising Podcast for hopefully more great things like this. And of course, that's all I gotta say. And I think you already know what I'm about to go ahead and do next. So for everybody, Michael Soltesz, Andrew Benjamin, Chris Gary, that be me. We just like to say thank y'all for listening. And as always, until the next time we hear from y'all, once again, back at it again. And on that note, we out. See y'all later. And we are clear? Are we clear?
Still
Is
says
it
live.
over?